It was an ugly end to the series in Milwaukee, so we'll give you our thoughts next on Locked On Royals.
You are Locked On Royals, your daily Kansas City Royals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are tuned in to another edition of Locked On Royals on the Locked On Podcast Network. As always, I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find us on wherever you listen to your podcast. That can be Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, Odyssey, and YouTube. Just be sure to hit the follow button and subscribe. And you can always send me questions or follow along for daily Royals content on my Twitter handle. That's at JohnnyJ_15, at JOHNYJ_15. And if you want to know a little bit more about me, I live here in Kansas City. I work in the sports media world over at Sports Radio 810 WHB, doing lots of stuff over there. But when it comes to this podcast and when you click on this link, you get nothing but 30 straight minutes of Royals baseball. Today's show is brought to you by wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Get snackin and get crackin with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more today. Let's dive right into it. The Royals get walked off in the series finale today in Milwaukee, 3-2. It was in extra innings. It was a rubber match game. So now the Royals are both 0-2 in extra inning games, and they are 0-2 in rubber match games, something that you very well know was an issue for the team last year. I feel the best place to start here is to acknowledge something that I'm only going to acknowledge once. I don't feel the need anymore to go on Twitter and talk people off the ledge after a bad loss or a bad start. Like, it doesn't feel productive to me to say it's only April. You should know that by now. That 6 games into the season, this is not the end of the world. Even if it's a frustrating loss, as today was. They're 2-4. Something like last year, where they were 2-4. And in fact, they lost their 4th game in a series finale to Baltimore on a walk-off, as they lost today on a walk-off. So the acknowledgement of, well, it's April, let's not worry about it, that goes without saying here. What we can focus on are the obvious things about this team through 6 games. Because I'm also not going to sit here and go, well, I'm not going to give you any analysis through 6 games. No, we have a 6-game sample size to talk about certain things. Number 1, Cole Reagan's start today, I thought was fine. He struck out 10 in 5 innings, made a bad mistake to Jackson Chourio. That might be the worst changeup he throws all year, just middle, center cut. That was about as easy of a pitch to hit that I believe he will throw all season long. He also only went 5 innings, something he did in his opening day start against Cleveland. That has to change. And no, I'm not going to say through 2 starts, oh no, he's in trouble, he can't work deep into games. Today, though, I did see some really good things. Attacking with the fastball up in the zone, was getting a lot of swing and miss there. Once he got through the order the first time, in which I thought he was a little too aggressive in the zone, he started getting those ugly swings and those bad misses from Brewers hitters. What I will circle back to, though, is if you're worried about 5 innings of 1-run ball and 10 Ks, I just feel there are different starts to be up in arms about. If the Royals offense would have given him something to work with, you're probably not seeing as much of a grinded out type of outing. If you're up 4-0, as we saw with Chris Bubich, you are able to attack the zone like that. When it's 1-1 and they've got their ace on the other side and Freddie Peralta, it is not as simple to just go, we're grooving the pitch here. And my stuff's good, they're not going to hit it. No, big leaguers can hit really good stuff if it's put right over the middle of the plate. We saw that first time through, it got much better. His offense didn't do him any favors, though. Other than Kevin Biggio having a nice single the other way after a Michael Massey double, nobody in that lineup, and I mean nobody in that lineup, did anything good today. I'll give the nod to Michael Massey. He was great today. 2 for 4, had the go-ahead hit in the 10th, but then the Royals couldn't close things out, though it was a miraculous, working out of a jam situation for Carlos Estevez. Bases loaded, nobody out. All the Brewers needed was a sacrifice fly, and he gets out of it with a line out, and then he got wasn't it a strikeout? Yeah, it was a strikeout, and then the pop-up with a 3-2 pitch. With this offense, though, and why I don't believe, and we'll talk about this in the third segment, so I will go back to it. What I want to say about this offense is the guys who are struggling, and struggling mightily, we know that is a part of their game. Like, if you thought Hunter Renfroe was going to be a 300 hitter, it's more on you than Hunter Renfroe. If you were holding him to that standard, you just clearly are hoping for the Hunter Renfroe from 3 or 4 years ago. He goes 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. Kyle Isbell, another 0 for day. MJ Melendez didn't play, but pretty much everybody else in that lineup didn't hit worth a darn. I mean, the top 4 guys, you're talking Jonathan India, Bobby Witt Jr., Vinny Pasquantino, Salvador Perez. 1 hit combined from those top 4. And here's a little positivity for you if you want to feel fine about it. I know for a fact that Bobby Witt Jr. is not a 240 hitter. I know that Vinny Pasquantino is not a 210 hitter. We know Salvador Perez will have those slumps, but he's not going to hover around 200. And Jonathan India, the last 2 games, I believe only has 2 hits, still better than what the others are providing you. So if you want that positivity, you got 1 hit from your top 4 guys, and you lost in extra innings to a team that won 94 games last year and won the division. Maybe it's a different Brewers team this year. I just still hold them in that regard of they're a division champion. They're a reigning division champion. Should the Royals have won that series? Absolutely. Absolutely should have won that series after scoring 11 on Monday afternoon. You get the start that you did from Chris Bubich, and you have Reagans for at least one of these other games. You're facing a rookie in game 2. You get shut out. And today it was ace versus ace. The offense was putrid, though. But still, I don't know if you can take enough from 6 games and go, well, this offense is terrible. They're never going to figure it out. I do believe that there is going to be a shorter leash and a harsher look at guys that have struggled in their career, struggled last year, and may begin this year struggling. The Royals last year weren't going to cut Hunter Renfroe after a slow start. They were not going to bench MJ Melendez after a slow start. They were not going to bench Kyle Isbell after a slow start. Coming up on Friday with the Orioles coming into town, there may be a different approach with how Matt Quatrero handles the lineup. And, you know, the offense, they are going to be driven by Bobby Witt Jr. and the top half of that order. If Bobby Witt Jr. goes 0 for 4 in a game, you just can't expect 8-9 runs or even 5 runs. You got to expect to win that game maybe 3-2 or 2-1 or 1-0. And this offense after Monday was just a shell of itself. There were some ugly at-bats. There were some at-bats where guys were too passive. They were chasing on pitches out of the zone. Yes, you can tip your cap and go Freddie Peralta was phenomenal today, and McGill was phenomenal, and Koenig was phenomenal, and Uribe was good as well. They got the outs when they needed to, and that extended into extra innings. And for the Royals, the bullpen, which we are going to talk about here in the second segment, they did enough. Cole Reagans did enough. The offense has not done enough in the last 2 games. But it's 2 games, and we're looking at now 156 to go. There's just going to be the ups and downs with the lineup. I firmly believe that. If there was one stance I wanted to take about this lineup, when they're red hot, you're going to be thrilled with this offense. You are going to see some of those bottom guys come through in big ways. When they're struggling, this is what it looks like. It's what it looks like last night, where if you can't get Bobby Witt Jr. on base and Vinny Pasquantino can't drive in runs and Salvador Perez is going down on 3 pitches, you just can't expect the lineup to do a lot with who's at the bottom. You can be optimistic and hopeful that 1 or 2 of those guys catches on, and when the offense is cooking, they're a part of that. It's not as loaded as some of those offenses you see out there. And I'll say this about the Brewers too. I mean, the Brewers have a good lineup, but I can compare it a little bit to the Royals where they've got their top guys, and they're usually toward the top of the order, And then you get to the bottom, it's more so of let's hope these guys can catch on. Let's hope these guys can catch fire. And for the Royals, that's the same thing here. You want to feel good every single time Jonathan India goes to the plate, and Bobby Witt Jr., and Vinny, and Salvi, and Massey. Then you get to that 6 through 9 part. Can you get something from Maikel Garcia all season long? Can one of those three outfielders be slightly below average? Right? Can they just be a 240 hitter? That's all you're asking for. But right now you're getting three guys that are sub 200. And that's just not going to fly every single day in the lineup. The way Mark Canha's looked and his few at-bats in Kansas City, I don't know why you wouldn't roll with Mark Canha on Friday night in right field. Or left field, for that matter. You might as well see. I mean, Mark Canha is a platoon hitter, but maybe he can be that spark for the bottom half of the order. He had a very professional at-bat today and working the count and drawing a walk and getting it to Jonathan India. Now, this offense is going to have its breakout. That I'm not concerned about. And a big reason why is I know Bobby Witt Jr. is not a 240 hitter. I know he's an MVP-like player. And the same thing as last year. When the offense struggled, all you had to do was go to the box score and see what total Bobby Witt Jr. put up. Now, maybe for some of you out there, you view that as a problem. We can't be driven by one player, right? The 8 other guys cannot be impacted by what your two-hole hitter does. I view it in a way as if he is struggling, it's not that they wave the white flag, but you can very much see that when Bobby Witt Jr. has that 2-hit game, go across the rest of the box score. Look at the numbers that are put up. Look how many times Jonathan India is on base. Look at how many RBIs Vinny Pasquantino has. What Salvador Perez's line looks like. And for the other guys, it's just a matter of time, in my opinion, before Bobby Witt Jr. gets going. And it really does take just one game for him. It is incredibly frustrating to lose the last 2 games in the way they did. And the rubber match struggles, that is going to be infuriating to all of us until they win a rubber match game. And maybe they're above 500 in those games. Especially when you win game 1. It's inexcusable to lose the final 2. I don't care how good the team is. You got to be able to get one of those final 2 and have a series win. So you go back home at 2-4. Yes, we can be frustrated about the offense. And we'll have plenty of talk on it tomorrow. They'll have an off day before Baltimore comes in. We may look at how they can fix this lineup, how long they can wait with some of these guys, if there's any help in AAA. But we also have to bring up, though, that the Royals aren't going to be doing anything 6 games in. I'd be floored if they made a decision 6 games in. What you could see is a difference in how Matt Quatrero handles this lineup. Maybe Hunter Renfroe only plays 1 game in the series against Baltimore. Maybe one of those guys doesn't get in at all. Maybe we see Garcia in center field on Friday night with Seth Lugo on the bump. We'll have a breakdown of that tomorrow, looking ahead to that series. But coming up next, I do want to dive into this bullpen. And it's a big reason why I'm having this reaction to these last 2 games. I love the way the bullpen has looked. And for the guys that have struggled, well, you might be able to just have that expectation of them. That these are the guys you shouldn't be trusting in high leverage spots. But for the guys that have pitched in those big moments, I've been impressed. I'll tell you why next on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter or X at JohnnyJ_15. Our first sponsor I want to give a shout out to is Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1-ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better-for-you unsaturated fats to keep you feeling fuller longer. So get snackin' and get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more today. And if you're like me, where you bring a few snacks into work just in case you're working a long day, these are great snacks to have, mainly because of that protein. And as I've said before, I love chips. I love to eat chips all the time. They just don't fill you up as much. But with those Wonderful Pistachios, they taste good. You only need a little pouch of them, and then you'll be feeling fine until your next meal. So go get started with your order of wonderful pistachios. It has been a negative last 2 games for the Royals, and the 2-4 record doesn't make you feel great considering the expectations that have been set for this team. You just have to go back to last year, though. They were 2-4. They had a rotation that looked great. They had an offense that did not, and they had a bullpen that really looked poor. They had blown 2 games in Baltimore in that first road series of the year. In Milwaukee for this one, they thrashed the Brewers in game 1. They get shut out in game 2, and they were neck and neck until the final pitch of the game, which was a slider, I want to say, from Sam Long. It was a squeeze bunt, and the Brewers executed it perfectly. And you walk out of Milwaukee with another series loss. You're 2-4. It's also 6 games. It's also April 2nd. At times, in extra inning losses, you're more emotional about it because you were right there. You look back to certain things, certain at-bats, certain bullpen moves that make you really frustrated. Oh, if they would have gone to this guy instead of this guy in this spot, the Royals win the game. Oh, if this guy would have come through or they would have pinch hit in this spot, the Royals win the game. The way I view today is that the bullpen did more than enough. And yeah, you're going to need more than 5 innings from Cole Reagans. The Royals also gave up 3 runs, and they struck out 15 to 16 Brewers hitters. That's good enough to win you a baseball game. I don't care if it takes extra innings. They had multiple opportunities to break through, and the bullpen had a big-time inning. They got out of a jam, and the offense did nothing. Nobody could set the table today other than Michael Massey. Pretty much everybody was flailing at what Freddie Peralta had and not moving the runner over. Lots of pop-ups, lots of strikeouts on pitches out of the zone. It was ugly. And going into Friday, I would love to see a more patient approach. I even thought Jonathan India, who's known for his patience, was not very patient today. Struck out on 3 pitches, one of those at-bats, struck out on the pitch that was well outside. I hope not to see too much of that from Jonathan India in this next series. And really, if I'm being picky, I don't want to see it for the next month or two. A game where you have 2 strikeouts on pitches that were out of the zone. This segment, though, is about the bullpen. We'll circle back to the lineup in our final segment with Bobby Witt Jr. The reason I'm having this reaction today, which if you listen to me long enough, you know that 6 games in, I'm not going to be pounding the table and screaming into this mic and, flipping off the camera. I'm going to wait until maybe there is no point of return for this team and their backs are against the wall and they're not fighting their way off the ropes. Now, that talk maybe is going to be saved for July and August. 6 games in, though, I'm not going to do it. When you have an offense that is top heavy and you've got an outfield that is struggling mightily in the same way they did last year, you want to be able to point to one aspect of this team, more so on the pitching side, because I don't know if base running would do a lot for me if the offense isn't getting on base. You want to look to the starters or you want to look to the bullpen and believe that, hey, these guys, they're going to be good all season long, and they're going to give that lineup time to figure things out. So far, the rotation hasn't done that. The rotation has not given you that confidence 6 games in to go, this offense is going to be fine. Because the pitching is going to have enough quality starts where, hey, if you give us 4 runs for the next 10 games, 4 every single timeout or 3 every single timeout, we're going to win these games because the rotation is going to give us 6 or 7 strong. Haven't gotten that yet. You gotten a good start from Chris Bubich. You got a fine start from Michael Lorenzen, and you got a very strikeout-heavy performance from Cole Reagans, but he didn't work that deep into the game. I look to the bullpen right now as a reason why I'm not overly concerned. The bullpen is getting great production from Lucas Erceg, who worked out of a jam today. Hunter Harvey, who looks healthy, who looks good. Carlos Estevez is still building that arm back up with the ghost runner at second. I'm not going to say that it was a true blown save. And that pitch he made to Jackson Chourio that tied the game, it wasn't a bad pitch. Then you have the walk. You have the weird balk, which was just not a balk at all. I don't know what John Tumpane was thinking in that moment or for the entirety of that game. But he worked out of it. And he also looked good on Saturday. He's paid to close out games for this team. I'd imagine he's going to have a lot of saves this year. So those top three guys have looked really good. Daniel Lynch has now worked his way into the conversation of, I'm putting him in the circle of trust. I trust him every single time he takes the ball. And with the way Angel Serapis pitched in all three of his outings, which isn't very good, maybe Daniel Lynch does take the ball. And he'll start to get those high leverage spots when there's two lefties in the lineup. To me, he's one of those guys that is a success story for the Royals pitching department with the way he's looked in the bullpen at the end of last year and the start this year. Now there's four guys that you feel in the back end of this bullpen that can pitch well enough. John Schreiber was fine today. You go to his track record, he should be another reliable arm. There's five guys. And then you've got Stratton, Serpa, and Sam Long. Sam Long gets the loss today. It's also the ghost runner rule. If Sam Long had a clean inning, maybe he pitches a little bit better. But overall, he's in that same category as Serpa and Chris Stratton, the guys that have not pitched well. If that bullpen that we saw today, who had to come in the sixth inning and work all the way into the 11th, if you get that bullpen majority of the time, and I feel for some of those arms, you can expect that. You can expect that from Lucas Erceg. You should be able to expect that from Hunter Harvey. Throwing strikes, effective strikes. Carlos Estevez in a clean inning, nobody on, should be able to close out games in the way he did on Saturday. If you've got that formidable bullpen, and we know the rotation is going to come around again, I feel that we are going to see them hit a groove. Now you've got a rotation clicking with a bullpen, which gives the lineup time. And in the same way we saw in 14 and 15, when the Royals lineup was good, it was better than this lineup. They just didn't have a Bobby Witt Jr. in there. It was well balanced. But their plan to win games was not, let's outslug teams 9-8. It was, let's scratch across a couple of runs, use small ball if we have to, maybe get 4 or 5 runs, get 5 or 6 from your starter, turn it over to a lights-out bullpen. I'm not saying this bullpen is HDH. They're clearly not. That's one of the best bullpens of all time. However, now you're starting to build some trust with these guys. And when the offense starts clicking, now I feel differently than how I did last year, which was, well, once the offense turns it on and they get a great start, as they did multiple times from Reagans, Lugo, and Waka, well, you better hope that lead is 3, 4, maybe 5 runs in the final 2 innings, because you just didn't have many guys to turn to. This bullpen has better arms out there and arms that can lock down games. I got a lot of confidence that after today, in which they had to come in the 6th inning and multiple guys are going out there. The only one that didn't pitch well was Angel Serpa, and there were still no runs that came out of that inning. Maybe you trust Serpa to be better in Sam Long's role, which Sam Long, unfortunately, has been thrust into 2 extra inning situations because there was nobody left basically in that bullpen. But if he can be average and Long can be average, who knows how long Chris Stratton's on the roster. The rest of the guys, I've got that confidence. Seeing what they did today, now loading up the strike zone, getting the swing and miss, the power arms, that can allow you some time to figure things out with the lineup. If this bullpen was constantly blowing games in the first six times out, I would have some worry that, man, even if the offense does start to click, they can't close out any games. And today, I don't call that a blown save because of the ghost runner rule. I know they understand that runner's there, but this one's on the offense. And these last 2 games have been on the offense. It's not been on the pitching. And maybe you disagree with me. Feel free to let me know in the comments. I just like where this bullpen spot is at much better through 6 games than I did last year. Last year, you had blown saves from Will Smith and Chris Stratton, and Nick Anderson didn't look that good. They couldn't turn to anybody. James MacArthur was pitching well, and then that went out the window about a month later. There are more guys in this bullpen that have a better track record, have more power, and will be able to lock down those games. They just have to get the offense clicking here over the next series or 2. Okay, we're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, I'm going to go back to what I said in the first segment. Bobby Witt Jr. drives this offense. It's very easy to see why right now, in these last 2 games, the offense hasn't clicked. We'll talk about that next on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals in the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter or X at JohnnyJ_15. Want to give a shout out to our final sponsor in Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you just stop managing your money and start building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's code LOCKEDONMLB, LOCKEDONMLB, for 50% off on your first year. Again, that is monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB for half off on your first year. To close out this final episode before the off day tomorrow, though we'll still be bringing you an episode talking about this lineup, talking about the struggles, I just wanted to end today's episode with a little bit of a teaser into what we're going to be talking about and why I'm just not overly concerned yet. It's easy to say it's 6 games. And as I said to open up the show, we should all know that by now. If you are overreacting and calling for people's jobs 6 games in, you're in for a long year. There are just going to be so many moments like this throughout the season. I mean, go back to Monday and the way you felt about this team and about this offense. It took 48 hours for you to change your opinion on the offense. And if the Royals come out and score 6 runs on Friday, your opinion will change again. If you live game to game with baseball, in my opinion, it's the wrong way to go about it. It's hard to stay level-headed. I'm not saying you can't rant and be upset, because that's what the comments are for here. If you want to vent, if you want to rant, it's a public platform here. You can say whatever you want to. I may not acknowledge it all the time, but it's just where my head's at. I feel that I would be in a lot of trouble if I was very emotional and calling for people's jobs 6 games in. And I have no affiliation with the Royals organization. I don't work for them. But what I would say is this. If you are scratching your head and going, what is it? Why is the offense struggling? It is just because, in my opinion, Bobby Witt Jr. is only hitting 240. And he's striking out a lot. You know, you might have been surprised today with Jonathan India at second base late in the game. He strikes out with a runner in scoring position. Benny Pasquantino does the same thing. They were good pitches by McGill. It's not like he missed on a meatball right over the middle of the plate. He missed on a pitch that was high and away. Usually, though, Bobby Witt Jr. hits those pitches. And it does come down to what type of year you expect from Bobby Witt Jr. For me, I believe he's going to win the MVP. And after 6 games, that has not changed. I do feel that he is going to win the MVP this year, and he's going to have a better year than he did last year. So, when he hits that stretch, when the ball starts to fall in, he gets the little bloop that falls in, and then he starts scalding the ball at 114, and it's finding a gap. It just trickles down the lineup. I may say something that a few of you will disagree with, because I just am firmly in belief that when he goes, the offense goes. When he doesn't go, the offense struggles. It's just the way it is with an MVP player. When you've got that type of talent in your lineup and he's not hitting, you know, you just don't have 2, 3, or 4 other MVP guys like the Dodgers to pick up that slack. So for a lot of you out there, there is that belief of the reason this offense sucks is because Renfroe, Isbell, and Melendez. I believe that is a contributing factor. I'd be dumb to not acknowledge that. You get 0 for 4 and 4 Ks from a guy that's now hitting 111 with an OPS of 405, and you get 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts from a guy that's hitting 133 and a 333 OPS, and your other left fielder who has 1 hit on the year, you're getting that from your outfield. It's obviously a contributing factor. But I don't view those 3 as a reason why the Royals would miss the postseason. I don't. In fact, if they struggle like this for a month, I don't know how much longer that a handful of them would be, A, either starting, or B, even on the roster. I would just have to start having that conversation of, man, who's next up? Or do they just go with Garcia in center, Canna in right, and India in left? And that's the new outfield. It doesn't matter if the defense is bad. If they're hitting, that's all that matters. And I'd have a hard time believing the Royals would go with that approach, but who knows? That's a month down the road. We can worry about that then. To me, though, if the Royals are to miss the postseason, which I'm not making this claim 6 games in, but if they were to, it wouldn't be because those 3 guys never figured it out. It would be because Bobby Witt Jr. didn't have an MVP-like season, and the rest of the supporting cast just didn't do enough. That, to me, is what would be the difference maker. If Vinny Pasquantino isn't able to be the same guy to pick up that slack, or Salvador Perez finally regresses, or Massey doesn't have the year I expect him to. But see, that's where I go back to and why I have full confidence. Bobby Witt Jr., in my opinion, is going to be an MVP player. And even if he doesn't win it, I predicted him to. If he doesn't, I expect him to be one of the best players in all of baseball. And the supporting cast feeds off that. If 3 of your guys you expected to struggle are struggling, then you do have to look for different answers. But that's where I'm at and why I do have the confidence, because I do believe he's going to turn things on very, very soon. I don't see Bobby Witt Jr. hitting 200 in the first month of the season. I see him turning it on as early as this series. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's baseball. You never can accurately predict baseball 100% of the time. You're going to have your missteps. But this lineup is built to be better than last year. There are guys that have made adjustments. Some will work, some won't. But Bobby Witt Jr. is a smart player. He is an uber-talented player, maybe the best player the Royals have ever had next to George Brett. And for him to be 0 for 4 today, now hitting 240, those are not numbers he's going to put up. And you expect him to turn things on. As for some of the other guys struggling, I can't go that far. I don't know if Hunter Renfroe is going to figure it out. I don't know if Melendez is. I don't know if Isbell is. I can tell you with 100% confidence, Bobby Witt Jr. will. Vinny Pasquantino will. And they're going to be able to get that lineup over to Salvador Perez, who will take it over to Michael Massey, and those guys are going to continue to hit. It may not just take one game. It might take a good series to get that offense clicking again, but that's why, as of right now, I'm not panicking, and I never was going to panic 6 games in. And even if the offense isn't there by the end of this weekend, you got to feel that it is built to be better than last year's team. They've got a more formidable leadoff guy. It puts less pressure on the guys at the bottom of the order. But those top guys, they got to hit. And we know they got to hit. In these last 2 games, they haven't. But after this off day, getting back home, I expect them to have a better series against the Baltimore Orioles. Okay, that'll do it for another edition of Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I've been your host, Jack Johnson. Tomorrow, we are going to preview that series against Baltimore, maybe take a closer look at the outfield and how they should handle it for the upcoming series, and lots of more Royals talk coming your way. But until then, you take it easy, Kansas City.